Hello everybody. Today we will focus on the idea generation technique and continue what we have started last week with different types of idea generation technique. As you may know that the idea generation techniques, as I have mentioned to you last week, that they are way or techniques to find solutions for a challenge or a problem. And when we are talking about solutions here, we are talking about the innovative solutions that we are trying to find so we can overcome the limited resources and we can overcome the many problems such as financial restrictions and other problems such as risk and so on. So we are using this technique to come up with innovative solutions. Some of these techniques, as we have mentioned last week, are group techniques, which means that a group of people join together to find a solution for the problem or the design challenge. Other of these techniques are individual techniques that it can be used and we can exercise it by ourselves, such as the mind mapping. Okay, today we will start tackling other types of idea generation techniques, which are the 6 thinking hats, the World Cafe, the Scamper, and the reverse thinking. Let's start. The six thinking hats are a technique that was invented or introduced by Edward de Bono, who was a researcher in Oxford University, and this concept is a little bit old. It was invented in 1992, and it is based on the concept of directed thinking. What does it mean, a directed thinking? It means that we put ourselves in the shoe of some kind of thinking or a perspective of how to tackle the ideas. Each direction is represented by a hat. So we have 6 hats, which means that we can tackle the idea or we can tackle the challenge from 6 facets. Okay, it is also called, this type of technique, it's also called the parallel thinking. The 6 thinking hats allow the user or the solvers to tackle one facet of the problem each at a time. So we can tackle the 6 facets of the problem at each step. When we are talking about these hats or when we are talking about this technique, it is not only a technique that is used for idea generation, but it is also used for taking a decision. So you may find people in a meeting inside a company or in an organization who may use this technique to come up with a correct decision. Also, it is, as it appears, it is a group technique that we can use to come up with some solutions. Okay, let's go to the different types of hats and know more about each one of them. The first hat is the white hat. When we are wearing the white hat, we are talking about only facts, informations, what are the data that we should know about this problem. So here we are just generating the data and information related to the problem and challenge. So we don't impose our intuition, we don't impose our point of view. Here we state only facts and information. The second hat is the red hat, and this is the feeling hat. Here we are talking about the hunches, we are talking about the intuition, about our personal opinion about this problem, about our instinct. So here it is the place, or this is the facade where we are open to our personal feelings. So we here express our personal feelings towards the challenge that we are tackling. The black hat, on the opposite, it is the hat that tackles the difficulties, the problem, the problem that may let something doesn't work. The black hat is the other facade of the red hat. So if we are optimistic, or if we are feeling good, or if we are talking about the benefits, so we are talking about the yellow hat. If we are not optimistic, we are tackling the difficulties, we are tackling the potential problems, we are tackling what will go wrong in this challenge, we are using the black hat. So the black hat is the opposite of the yellow hat. The yellow hat on the opposite side is here we state the benefits, how it works, how something will work good, the values, the add-on that the solution will provide for the users. The green hat is about the creativity, the solutions, the alternatives, the new ideas that we have to come up to introduce it to solve the challenge. Always remember that we are tackling a challenge. So we are tackling the challenge from all of its facets, all of its perspective. So at each time we are wearing one of the hats to tackle a part or a facet of the problem. The blue hat is the organizer hat. It is the facilitator hat. This is how, if we are wearing the blue hat, we are wearing the blue hat to manage the perspectives, to say what are the next steps, to organize the action plans that we are planning to do, to state which hat we will wear next. So the blue hat is the facilitator hat. This is when we wear the blue hat, we want to take a pause and say, this is what we will do next. Okay? You will take about 20 minutes to do the exercise in a group to exercise the concept of the sixth thinking hat. Each group, these are the instructions for the exercise. Each group has to choose the challenge that it was previously selected in last lecture. Take into consideration that the challenge should be well defined, has a smart orientation or objectives. It is well defined, it is time framed, it is a specific challenge, and all the other aspects that we have tackled last lecture. You have the 20 minutes, you have to use all the thinking hats to come up with the solutions that you may prefer. This is an interesting exercise because here at each time we change at each time we wear a certain hat, we are changing our perspective to the challenge we are tackling. finishing your exercise, each group should discuss with other groups the finding that they have faced during their exercise, tackling the different challenges and the different solutions that they come up with wearing their hats. Of course, if you are all the group are working on the same challenge, it will be interesting to share the different solutions that each group is were coming up with. Yet, as we have, as the last lecture set up, each group has a certain kind of challenge that they are working on, and it is preferable that each group exercise together the sixth thinking hat. Move to the end of the session of the sixth thinking hat. To wrap up the solution, we have to come up with what we have achieved during the exercise of wearing the sixth thinking hat. We have to record our outcome. What are the solutions that we came up with it? What are the conclusions? Is the challenge is it solvable? Did we find a perfect solution for our challenge? So we have to conclude what we are doing. We have next to design, and this will be the topic of our next chapter, the design of the design of the solutions, and what are the next steps. So after finishing the exercise, you have to record the outcome, the conclusion, the solutions, and what are the next steps. Let's move to another technique, idea generation technique, that is called the World Cafe. This technique, it's really interesting because it is like talking in a cafe. As you may know that sitting at a cafe, whether it is a قهوة بلدي or a cafe per se, like Starbucks, Venus, and so on, it is a comfortable setup. You can meet your friends there, you can meet your teammates, you can meet your colleagues in a cafe, and you can start discussing a topic in the cafe. The World Cafe technique, it's an interesting technique to tackle challenges and problem, and it is also a problem solving technique, as we mentioned. It is a very easy using technique or method because it is it initiates a collaborative dialogue around a question or a challenge or a problem that we want to solve. It is very flexible. Its setup is really easy. It is like the setup in a cafe. As you may know, we have tables. A group of people, 5 or 6, will sit on each table, tackling a topic or a challenge or a problem. The principle here is to encourage the dialogue and the active engagement between the group on each table, and to come up with a constructive possibility to find a solution or an action. Of course, we have some guidelines to the World Cafe, which are to set the context, which may be to pay attention to the reason you are here, which means that you have to well define the problem or the challenge that you are coming to tackle it, to be hospitable as much as you can, so you will engage the people to come up with more idea, to let them feel more safe, and to be very inviting to them, so they come up with innovative solution, and to give you all their opinion about the problem. Also, at each time we are exploring a question or a problem. So at each round, we are tackling at each table a problem or a question. The issue here is to the collaborative contribution, that each one on the table should have a contribution, should be engaged, should participate, because this will make a very important difference. This will allow for an innovative solutions for the challenge, to come up with which I mean that we can come up with alternative or innovative solution for the challenge. The word cafe is a technique that is based on iteration, which means that we will at each time, say for 10 minutes, each table will discuss a topic, and then the host on each table will record these ideas or topics on a paper, on a sheet of paper, and when the time is finished, we will rotate. The people on the table will rotate. Only the host will remain at his seat and will host a new group of people on his table. So for the word cafe, we will take around also 20 minutes to do the exercise, and then we will post our ideas and solutions. The word cafe is more interactive. It is more likely to mingle more people and to grab and to incorporate more opinions and point of view for a certain challenge, because it allows for the movement and for the engagement and for the collaborative participation of the people inside the room together. The third technique today that we will tackle is the scamper technique. The scamper, it's an acronym for substitute, combine, adapt, modify, propose, eliminate, and rearrange, which means that we will, at each time, we can substitute a component, or we can combine two solutions together, so we can come up with a better solution. We can modify a traditional solution that was existing, and we can modify it so it can come up with better ideas. We can rearrange some components of a solution so it can come up with other solution. For example, when we are talking about the traffic jam in the area around Cairo University, we were talking, some of you have come up with some solutions, such as the bus with a hall downstairs, which allow for the cars to pass through the buses. Do you remember this? Yes, this is a combined and modified solution. We have combined both the concept of a bus, so it is a group transportation or a public transportation that allow to transport a lot of people rather than riding a car or a taxi. Also, it is a modified solution because instead of having the traditional bus design, which have a deck and some seats inside, we have combined the concept of the bridge inside the bus, so we will allow the cars to pass through the bus to less or to decrease the traffic jam during the rush hours, for example. So the scamper is another technique that can be used by a person to come up with new ideas for, or maybe not new ideas, maybe modification of an old idea to solve a challenge. Also, you can take 5 to 10 minutes to use a scamper technique to tackle one of the solutions that you have come up with to combine. So you can use the scamper, as I mentioned. You can use the scamper technique, and to exercise this technique you can take 5 to 10 minutes to combine solutions together to see how you can modify an old solution that you have come up with by adding new components to it to come up with new solution, how to eliminate some solutions which are not suitable financially, technologically, or sociably. Also, we can rearrange some solution, or we can rearrange the components of some of the solution to come up with a new innovative solution. Scamper is really fun if you can exercise it on the go along with other techniques such as the mind mapping, the six thinking hat, and other techniques. The last technique that we will tackle today is the reverse thinking technique, and it is a really fun technique. As you may see the logo here, that the person is sitting over his head because he is thinking in the reverse way, which means that we are not thinking about solutions for the challenge, we are thinking how the challenge will be done, which means that we are thinking in the opposite way, not to solve, yet to make the challenge more challenging. So if we are thinking about the problem that we have is the traffic jam in Cairo University surrounding, so here, if we are using this technique, we are using how to increase the traffic jam. So someone of you may ask me why we would use this kind of technique to as an idea generation technique. I would answer that frequently when we think about a problem, if we think about the problem itself, how it would increase, during this type of thinking, we can come up with the ideas about how to solve it or how to decrease the problem. Let me give you an example to be more clear. Back to the example of the traffic jam, if we are thinking and using the reverse thinking technique or method, we will think about how to increase the traffic, or how to have more traffic in Cairo, the Cairo University neighborhood, which means that we will come up with ideas how to increase the number of commuted cars, how we will increase the crowd around the Cairo University. So, for example, you will say that each person will ride one car. This one of the ideas. You may say that the buses we will prohibit the buses and the microbuses and the public transportation to pass through this neighborhood. Only cars with one rider can pass. This is the reverse thinking. This is how to increase the problem. This is how we can amplify the challenge. So, doing so, you may find out the solution for your problem, coming up with very funny and very negative solutions. Coming up with so negative solution may have the effect of clearing or of illuminating the way to know more about what are the solutions that we can come up with to solve this problem. So it is funny. It is not recommended to use it all the way long, but it is a good way to produce more ideas. So, to wrap up, we have tackled during our last lectures some sort of idea generation techniques, such as the the brainstorming technique, which is a group technique or a group method. The mind mapping, which is an individual method for idea generation, such as the 6 thinking hat, which is a group technique and which is relying on tackling the challenge from different perspectives, each at a time. The World Cafe as a technique, it's a more collaborative technique which allow for more solutions and more ideas to come up. The scamper technique is a kind of technique that come up with action verbs or stimuli to come up with and to stimulate the innovative thinking, to come up with new solutions that may combine 2 solutions, may substitute one old solution by a new one, or to adapt new solutions, or to modify new solutions, or to rearrange some solution to come up with a new solution. Also, the last technique, which is the reverse thinking technique, which is instead of using the traditional and the logical thinking to solve the problem, we try to reverse it to think about opposite idea that may amplify or increase the challenge. This is a good way and a good exercise that we would use to produce ideas for the negative challenge, so we can, while we are generating the negative ideas, we can come up with a new innovative solution. What we want to do through the learning the different types of idea generation techniques is to know that while we are facing a challenge or a problem, we can have a lot of innovative solutions, but these innovative solutions may not come up to light until we are proceeding in a constructive way to produce it and to generate it. You have learned through this lecture and the past lecture some of these techniques, and I encourage you to exercise it all along to be more friendly with them and to use it during your personal life and during your personal challenge, so you can thank you for being attentive, and looking forward to seeing you in next lectures. Bye.